First News with Keeler in the morning on WIBX and WIBX950.com.
Rabbi Didy Wax is on the line right now. Rabbi, did I say Rabbi? Sorry about that. Rabbi Didy Wax is on the line here right now. Good morning, Rabbi. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good. So let's start with the Netflix story. I know that from reading your Facebook page that you do not necessarily approve and feel that it is an accurate depiction of Orthodox Jews.
Well, I pretty much wrote my Facebook post in response because I feel that Orthodox Jews, and it's a very, very wide community, a very small community, but covers a pretty wide spectrum, have been depicted in a number of different, series and stuff lately, and definitely overrepresented in the amount of things we've been shown in. And it's just not, it doesn't represent their specific stories. And I'm not questioning the motive of people who put out this stuff. They want to get people to watch their stuff, and it's very dramatic and interesting and wonderful to watch. But it's not people should not think that that's everyday life. And the reason why I wrote that is because now there's another series coming out, or it just came out yesterday. And I just know from the previous, from Unorthodox, where people ask me questions, and just that's just not us. That is a personal experience of someone, but there isn't really any. It's almost like, if that's your first introduction, you're going to have a very skewed, both good and bad, but most of it not good. So that's
I think they almost imply that the Orthodox Jewish faith and community is, especially males, misogynistic, and it comes off that that women are placed in a very, very difficult position. And what you're saying is, while that story itself may be true, that is not the general story of the Orthodox Jewish faith.
I agree with what you just said, and I'll put it to you even better. Why have they not managed to find, or can they really not manage to find any women who have wonderful experiences, and actually the many hundreds or even many thousands, if not many tens of thousands of women who have made the decision to become Orthodox Jews? And so, are they all, self-sexist or whatever the word is? That there's clearly another narrative. Now, I'm not expecting them. I'm not one of those expecting them to make a movie or a series about, putting Jews in a good light. They're not in the PR business for us. But I'm saying, I have no complaint to the producers or the directors or those who put this stuff out. I do want to urge those who watch it to understand that it's more of a human interest story and less of a story about Orthodox Jews. It happens to be that's the framework in which the story takes place.
You know what what is interesting about we as humans? It's like the issue of voter IDs and voter access and early voting and all of that stuff. We base everything on our personal experiences. I know it's just human nature. It's all you know. If all you know is this, then that's what we base everything on. And I think that happens. That's exactly what's happening here. And I think that while it's not wrong to have a series like this, obviously they're out trying to make some money and make some fame on a production that's now on Netflix. But the reality is, to think that that's what all Orthodox Jews are and how they represent themselves would be wrong. Okay, fair enough.
Right. And it's not a documentary. I mean, that's the most important thing. Years ago there was a documentary about my family. I'm from a large family, and it was a documentary that was really trying to show what Jewish life was like. That's a documentary, and I'm not even that was imperfect, and it was probably came across too positive. But it was a documentary, and that's what it was trying to do. This is not a documentary. This is a dramatized version of a story. I
have a friend who grew up Jewish, but not we'd have a cheeseburger with bacon, and she had no issue with that whatsoever. But ended up choosing to become join the Orthodox Jewish faith. and got married, and it was her choice. And I think they are incredibly happy. And it does not
doesn't sound like an interesting Netflix series to me.
That would be an interesting Netflix series. But no, we want the dirt and the grime. That's what we go after.
That's right.
That's human nature.
That's right.
Okay,
if
and
her
then
husband abuses her, God forbid, let us know. We can make a story out of it.
right,
Yeah,
please. It's the Don Henley Dirty Laundry song right there. Okay, and then Major League Baseball has an Orthodox Jewish player in the minor league system. Turns out it's the first Orthodox Jew to be drafted by Major League Baseball.
Let's be honest. When you first heard the story, you were like, "Is Didy drafted?" No.
I knew he was talented, but man,
I didn't know he was a baseball player. Yeah.
Yeah. So the reaction of the community there, and there was another another draft yesterday. But I don't know if that was also to baseball or not. But a second Orthodox kid was drafted, which was quite historic because two in one draft. But the reaction has been positive generally, just because of what it means. You know, I don't come from a very athletic or sporty background. We barely followed the sports. But I think just to see someone who's proudly Jewish and has managed to get so far through through to this point while still observing Shabbat, keeping kosher, which is quite difficult to do. And I just growing up, we used to always hear about Sandy Koufax, who refused to play on Yom Kippur. He was not an observant Jew. He was more than happy to play on Rosh Hashanah. He was more than happy to, break every other Jewish law. But when it came to Yom Kippur, he had his point where he said, "That's it.
That's right. That's very true.
I'm Jewish."
Yeah.
And so to see kids who are more observant and keep many of the laws, which are not easy to keep, but have made it work, shows. For me personally, it's less about like, wow, they can. Every kid who wants to become a major league baseball player can now do it. It's less about that and more about two Jewish kids. This is for me. I'm not saying what other people's excitement is, but for me, it's that that they are saying we as far as we're going, our Jewish identity matters still so much, and that's who they're being identified as, the Orthodox Jewish players. It's great for PR as well. Let's be honest. Everyone knows about these kids over anybody else, but that's really the story, and for us, that's exciting to see that they are moving along proudly as religious Jews. I
have about 2 minutes, and I want to throw some rapid fire questions at you. When I think of Orthodox Jewish faith, and a male, I think of the curls, right? Yeah. This kid looks like every other kid in America who plays sports. It's got a short haircut. It's completely different. Talk about that if you could.
Okay, so I'll be very quick because he said it's rapid fire. So that's why I said there's a big diversity in Orthodox Judaism. Orthodox Judaism, this can be an entire class. But that's why I refrain from using the word, because the movement can mean so many things to many different people. The Hasidic Jews, of which I'm technically a part of, some of them have the curls and that, and they come from Eastern Europe and Hasidic tradition. Generally, when we say Orthodox Jew, we mean people who subscribe to a certain understanding of the faith of Judaism, and basically they observe kosher and Shabbat in the traditional way, and they observe Judaism in a traditional way. The short haircut and the no beard and that. They would generally they would identify as modern Orthodox. Okay. Within Orthodoxy, it's a subset, but they are Orthodox to a degree.
And can you explain that we saw this during the impeachment of President Trump, when his attorney would drink water, he placed his hand over his head. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I don't know why you have to connect this to Trump, but okay.
Okay, sorry about that.
When you know how I wear a yarmulke, so
yes,
the kippah. So we wear that. I wear that all the time, as do many Jews. This attorney normally would wear one, but he didn't want it to stand out. He didn't want to be identified in a certain way. So I believe he normally wears one. So he chose not to wear it at the hearing. But when you say a blessing, before we drink or eat anything, we say a blessing. Mm-hmm. And when you say a blessing, your head has to be covered. You have to be wearing the kippah. And so he would cover his head because that would count.
So every sip you have to, every sip you'd have to do the blessing?
Well, every time you say the blessing. You only have to say the blessing once unless there's an interruption of a certain amount of time. If you start drinking water, it gets very technical, but if you start drinking water, you say the blessing, and then as long as there's not a large interruption, you would then not have to say another blessing.
I will do one thing. I grew up, and I don't believe I grew up with, certainly didn't grow up with many Jewish children, and I'm not sure if I could pinpoint someone who I'd say, yes, that person was Jewish. I didn't know. Interestingly, went to a Jewish funeral, and everyone was asked to put a yarmulke on as you walked in. And it is how things are foreign and how customs are foreign to people. Watching these 23-year-olds, 20-year-olds, all giggling, boys and girls, all feeling awkward, if you will, because they were putting on a yarmulke. These are Christian people going to a Jewish funeral. It's a great experience to learn other cultures. But it is so interesting to see how foreign it is to us, especially in upstate New York.
You're 100% right. If there's anything I can do to make it less foreign, come by and we'll have to get together and make it less foreign.
All right. Rabbi Didy Walks, we appreciate the update this morning. Thank you so much.
Always fun to talk to you.
All right, thanks. It gives us a little bit of an insight. But if you're going into a Jewish funeral, you're expected to also wear a yarmulke.
I didn't know that. You know,
which for somebody like me who's balding I wish the Christians required yarmulkes.
All
no
the
one
time.
would be able to see my balding head.